Welcome back to the Gal Matrix, everybody. Um, we have a snow day here, so I'm going to be honest and tell you that I'm still wearing my pajamas even though it's after 4 p.m. I'm really happy to have my friend Heather on today to talk about a topic that's near and dear to both of our hearts, which is coping with stress. So, Heather and I met when our kids were in kindergarten together. And we've sort of been in each other's orbit for 15 years, 16 years, something like that. That's the other thing that we have in common, which is ADHD.
Yep.
And we both were diagnosed as adults
Yes. Yes.
and walked each other through that process as well. And simultaneously had that experience of going back to all the embarrassing, impulsive things that we've done throughout from, all of our time on the planet and understanding them from a new lens. And I think for me, I don't know if I even would have had the courage to go through with all of the testing and the interviews with family and all of the things that resulted in that diagnosis that has really changed my life and also helped me have a broader understanding of why certain stress coping strategies don't work for me, or at least they don't work for me in the way that they work for most people. And the best example I can come up with is meditation. And so I'm going to share the positive coping around that. But then I think it's a segue into you and I talking about one of the incredibly loving interventions that you did with me when I was deep into another coping strategy that's much less positive. Um, so during the time that we went on countless miles and miles and miles of walks together, and also with our mutual friend Alicia, we were supporting me, in your case, losing my mom. And in the wake of that, I started trying to do things to relieve stress, um, including I tried to meditate, but I could never do it successfully. I would meditate long enough to remember 5 things that I was supposed to do and jump up and go do those things. Or I would just sit there and be like, God, this is be
Yes.
shopping online. I could be cleaning my kitchen. I could be doing so many different things right now. And instead, I'm trying to like clear my mind. And so, meditation is a wonderful, positive coping strategy for many people. For me, I have to be doing something else while meditating.
So I'm so glad you said that because I've had a couple people in my life try to tell me that, oh, well, you should just meditate. It will change your life and it'll do all these things. And I don't deny that. Like I'm never a person that's gonna be like, that's hogwash. Well, okay, I lie. I'll say it's hogwash if it really is fake news, but I digress. The point is that I listened to a podcast, and I think I shared it with you, where it talked about meditation is whatever it needs to be for you. So it doesn't have to be just this sitting silently in a quiet room and thinking of clearing your mind, right? Like for some people, it's exercise. For some people, it's cleaning your kitchen. For some people, it's walking through the mall with headphones in and tuning out all the external stimuli. Like there could be so many ways that it exists in a true way for you. So it doesn't have to always fulfill the parameters of what we think it classically is, which is sitting and being quiet and sitting with ourselves. But back to also the walking miles and miles and miles, like that was meditative. Like we're with girlfriends and we're venting and we're sharing and we're doing something that's so primal and so like has happened for millions of years. Well, I guess let's not argue about when people were on this planet. Let's not go down that path today. But the point is that like for thousands of years, women have existed in that way with each other, right? Working alongside each other and having conversations. And I think that was actually super meditative in my book. That's how it felt for me, certainly. I don't know if it felt that way for you.
No, it did. It did. And I think that meditation for me can be exactly what you said, walking, talking, um, walking in nature, especially if you can find someone to do it with you and not talk the whole time, which is, I'm not talking about you,
Who?
I'm talking about Millie, who, by the way, just came in here and was trying to talk to me. And I was like,
I know. I was like, who are you giving the hand to? Talk to the hand because the face ain't listening. I know. You did a great job with that. Like that was, I'm going to hold on. I'd like to pay you a compliment because us ADHDers don't often get compliments because we're usually being corrected because someone with ADHD grows up hearing like, I don't know, I think 55% more corrective comments than the average neurotypical person. Don't quote me on that, but I read it somewhere. Anyway, the point is that you did a great job of handling that. And just want to give you props.
thank you.
Mhm.
Parenting ADHD while also having ADHD is just a real, um, it's a very special kind of odyssey.
It's a treat.
It's a treat. It's a treat. And we both know that because we're both doing it. And yeah. So I would say that that is a positive coping strategy, finding whatever way you can find to be present in a moment, to
Yes,
to right, to be present in a moment, to set down all the to-dos, all the shoulds. Meditation became a should for me. And the minute that a coping mechanism or a wellness self-care thing becomes a should, that means it's not working for you.
absolutely. And I think like you hit the nail on the head, right? Like when you find the thing that you want to do and all the other stuff falls away, that's the meditation, right? So it could literally be coloring, whatever it is, right? But when all the extraneous stuff just naturally falls away, you're like, oh, that's it. That's it right there. Okay. It's sort of like when you find a friend and you go, oh, I've known you for 30 seconds, but like I feel it. It's like, right. And it's like, oh, that's it. That's my person. And so it's like, it needs to be so much less about the shoulds and it should be so much more about how does this make me feel internally and does it make me want to do it again?
Yeah, and speaking of coloring, which is another thing that I thought would be a really helpful thing to do. Um, I don't know if I did tell you about our mutual acquaintance, Mrs. M, who um, did home visits for all her
Yeah, I'm familiar with those.
kindergartners. And I was really intimidated by her, and I was really excited to have her come to my house. And I like curated all these activities that she was going to do with Millie. And I had just gotten one of those naughty coloring books with lots of like the cover, it was Mommy Drinks Because You Cry. And I hadn't even opened it yet. I hadn't even colored a single page. And I put it way up high so Millie wouldn't be tempted. And I put her coloring books on the table. And Mrs. M invited me to leave them alone. And so I went upstairs and changed. I think I decided I was going to go for a jog or something. And I changed in my workout clothes. And I came back downstairs and Mrs. M was like, oh, Hi, Mrs. McLean Williams. We're just having a fabulous time coloring in here. You should come and check out what we're doing. And I walked in there, and as I was approaching the table, I could see that they were coloring a page out of my coloring book because Millie is such a little stinker. She had gotten a ladder and got up and got that coloring book back down. And they were
Well, of
coloring a
course.
page of like a beautiful princess fairy looking woman. And there were birds and flowers in her hair. And it said underneath her, Karma is a motherfucker.
So Cinderella, and she was having a dress made. I think that was apropos.
I was so I definitely I got hives. You know, you get the hives that like creep up, and I was like, "Oh, that's not hers. That's in fact, it's not even mine. I don't even know where that came from." I'm just like spewing lies out of my mouth. And Mrs. M said, "Oh no, it's fine. It's great. In fact, I'm keeping this." And oh, Lord in heaven. Anyway, but I digress. Um, Another coping strategy that can be really good, but that people can take too far
Hmm.
is trying new things, right? When you have, let's say, like a really monumental, stressful life event. And for me, that was losing my mom after taking care of her for 2.5 years in our home. And I remember us walking on one of those miles long walk, and you like took a breath, kind of like I just did right now. I remember you taking a breath, and I was talking to you about all the things I was doing. I think I decided I was going to be a nurse and a I had adopted a dog, and I was thinking about buying my our retirement place, like all these things, right? Oh, and I was doing the yoga certification.
Hold on. Can I
You want to tell them?
interrupt?
Sorry, go ahead, please.
Okay. So, all right. Let's, I'd like to paint a picture here. So, first things first, I think, so kids were back in school, right? Kids were back in school. And we would meet like two, three times a week to walk, at least for an hour, right? And we would just like word vomit everything that's going on in our lives and what's going on. And you'd been helping me navigate something that was really difficult in my life and making a really hard decision, which we can share about that on another day. But every time I saw you, so let's just like kind of build this kind of picture, right? Every time I see you, and I'm seeing you two, three times a week. For the folks at home, this is not a joke. I'm becoming a yoga instructor. Oh, awesome. Okay, cool. I'm going to be a death doula on like right now. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yep. I signed up for a class. Oh, okay. I'm going back to school and I'm going to be a nurse because then I can be a nurse, death doula, yoga instructor. And I'm like, that's a lot to take on right now. Okay. We're buying a house in California, our dream home. We're flying down there today to go look at it. I'm like, what is happening? Hold on, it gets better. It gets better. I've also adopted a dog, but we can't fly down there. I have to drive down because I can't fly with the dog and I can't leave the dog at home. And I did. I said, may I share an observation with you? And you were like, yeah, of course, always. And I'm like, so I'm a little concerned that all of these things that you're doing, while maybe one at a time would be a coping strategy or something that's good to positively distract you from the grief that you're experiencing, which, by the way, I think it's actually quite fitting and beautiful that Rita is over your shoulder right now. So this actually works out really well today. I said, I really worry that you're adding so much more onto your plate. And what it's going to do is instead of actually creating a better path for you, you're just prolonging the inevitable, which is feeling the big feelings of the grief process right here, right now. And I know that because I did that for years. And I'm now at the age I'm at, and I'm having to relive and cope and grieve things that honestly I should have done years ago. But I was so intent on just putting one foot in front of the other and driving myself forward that I never stopped to think, oh my God, all I'm doing is delaying the inevitable feelings that I need to feel right now. And you like stopped in your tracks and you were like, oh my God. And I was like, yeah.
But why do you think I was able to hear that from you? Because there were other people in my life that were having those same thoughts and those same worries, and they either knew they couldn't broach it because I wasn't going to respond well, or they did try, and I was like, excuse me, I know what I'm doing. By the way, I'm a coach. Like I'm trained. So,
Yeah.
so what do you think was different about it?
I know why you were, because I had just spent the last year literally peeling back all of those things that I had so distracted myself with. Like, I had to pare my life down to literally like nuts and bolts and go, where am I going? What am I doing? How am I going to do this by myself? And I knew that I couldn't have clarity of mind and self if I didn't peel back all the extraneous bullshit. And so when I saw you adding and adding and adding, I'm like, oh no, she's going to lose sight of what's really important, which is grieving her mother, maintaining a loving and healthy relationship with her family, her children, her husband, continuing to grow her business, continuing to stay focused on the things that ultimately I know that if she wasn't in crisis, that would be what she'd want to be focused on. But because she's in crisis, she's just going, I'm just going to keep, it's like the Farrell's banana split. You're like, yeah, just keep going. And it's like, no, dude. And like it was perfect 15 ingredients ago. Let's pare it back and let's take it back to like the brass tacks of what really matters to you. And yeah, we're going to have to sit in some really uncomfortable shit. But I'll sit here with you and we'll walk it together and we'll walk for miles and we're going to do this. Which leads me to, where have we ended up with all the things that you decided to pile on?
I let go of the idea of being a nurse, but I did complete 6 science classes, which you witnessed. Um, and those prepared me for another major life event, which is not for today, but I did end up using the yoga and meditation certifications, and I used them in a way that's become one of the biggest sources of joy, in addition to coaching and training, which I'm still doing both. I now teach a free class every week at the senior center at the Tigard Meals on Wheels Senior Center for people. The average age is 80. And it's so fun. And it is the perfect way to keep my mom in my life, like people her age. And also, it helps me meditate, it helps me be present. And it's just a kick in the pants. It's so fun. They're so funny. Like the class keeps, we have like 25 people in the class now, and we have 3 Marilyns, we have 3 Karens, and we have 3 Helens.
Wait, hold on. Like Karen feels like a very like 80s name. There's three
I know.
Karens.
There are three
I
Karens.
thought there for sure would be like some Bernadettes or some
We do have some
Gertrudes.
like some Rosemarys, we have some Dorothys. We have, yeah. But yeah, it's been so good. And I think that's the last coping strategy that I would share with people when you feel really trapped in a place in life or when you are given numerous very stressful curveballs as you can't be our ages and not have had in your life. Doing something small, not like on the scale that I was trying to do all at the same time, but to allow yourself, encourage yourself to experiment and try something that you haven't done before and just take yourself completely out of your ritual, out of your usual population can both give you perspective, but also allow you to see sides of yourself that you haven't experienced before.
Well, and I think what's so cool about, like you were literally like, I'm gonna try this and I'm gonna try this and like, and that's beautiful. Like, I think as humans and especially as adults, I think we can get so rigid in our thinking of this is back to the shoulds. This is what I'm supposed to do. This is how I'm supposed to do it. How do I shift careers? How do I reskill myself? But it's like you took something like doing a yoga instruction or a certification, doing a meditation certification, and then you took your desire of wanting to help that more elderly population, right? And you were able to meld the two together, but you didn't go into it knowing that that's how it was going to turn out. You took these different elements and you're like, I want to know more about this. This is what's going to connect me to this side of things. And then now it's become something that's brought you such joy and something that you look forward to. And I think that that's something that we really overlook as we get older is what brings us joy and those, whether it's a coping strategy, i.e., coloring swear words with our children's kindergarten teachers, or exercise and sitting in a quiet room, it's like it also needs to provide some semblance of joy to you because otherwise what are we doing it for? Like why bother, you know? So I think that you know, there's always an opportunity in life to like say yes to something. And I think you were a really big catalyst for me. Like I jokingly called last year my year of yes. Like even my 10-year-old was like, this was your year of yes. But like I saw you being so brave and signing up for all these things and saying yes to all these things. And it turned out to be something that's become something so great for you. It's turned out to be something that's turned out to be so great for me. And I think that to me is the takeaway is like, what do we have to lose?
Yeah.
Not a goddamn thing.
Yeah. Yeah. You made me think of two other things, and
Yes.
one is a yes that I would like you to try. But at the same time that I'm saying that, I think one of the cautionary tales, if you discover a coping strategy for stress that works really well for you, not don't assume that that's going to be the magic sauce for all the people in your life. And I think that sometimes we do that, right? We're like, oh, I found this thing and it's really working for me. So I want to go tell everyone that I care about who seems like they might be struggling that they just need to do this thing and
Oh
then
yeah.
they're going to be fine. Okay. And so now that I just said that, I'm going to be a total hypocrite and I'm going to tell you that ever since the election, because I can't stand to consume too much news, I'm consuming some because I'm not putting my head in the sand, but I have it very limited. And when I'm not listening to news, I'm listening to KMDH, Portland's Jazz Without Boundaries.
Oh.
And I swear you have to try this. It's 88.1.
I know that
It's
channel. It's
so,
amazing. It's been around since the dawn of
oh
time.
my God, it's so old. And you go in there and it's like entering a different universe. And it really there are no boundaries to this jazz. Like there was a song on the other day that was called the the Sparrow's Love Squawk. And it was a whole jazz song about a sparrow trying to get a mate. I'm not making this up. Every time Ian gets in the car and he hears the jazz on, he's like, God dang, could we maybe get a couple boundaries? I mean, just a few boundaries would be great because this jazz without boundaries is really not good. It's really, he called it bollocks. Oh, that's so mean. I hope nobody
That's okay. So
that
speaking of
loves it.
music though, like my
Yeah.
newest, well, not newest, but like when I'm feeling really like about life, for me it's 70s yacht rock or hold on, everybody hold on to your hats or your britches, either one. If I'm having a really bad day, Olivia Newton-John, Xanadu.
It's a good song.
I mean, I'm sorry. Who can have a bad day after you listen to Xanadu? You just envision her in roller skates and her beautiful face and her kind, kind heart. And you're like, okay, well, everything's all right with the world because, hi.
Um, but I have to challenge you on the Xanadu. I'm
No.
sorry. I'm sorry. But if I really need a pick-me-up, it's Olivia Newton-John magic.
Okay, so let's recap.
Okay, please
Coping.
recap while Ian feeds the dogs very loudly in the middle of our
All right,
episode.
so meditation, it is what you make it. You can clean the kitchen, you can run, you can color swear words, or for the love of Pete, you can say, I hate meditation. I'm just going to do whatever the F I want to do.
You can run or not run.
You can take a nap in the corner. That's what I always say in my group fitness classes. I think the big takeaway, though, if I'm going to,
What's the biggest nugget, Heather?
I think the biggest nugget for me is that, yeah, like I don't want to sit here and be like, bullet point one, two, three. That's bullshit. I think the biggest takeaway for me is that no one should ever cope alone. That's absolute bullshit. Like, no, if you don't have someone that you can unload on and share the grief and the pain and all the things, like, then God damn it, call us up and we're gonna help you find your people because no one should go through life alone. And that is so much of coping with life is having your people. Um, and then however way you make that work, that's up to you, but keeping in mind that it bringing you some happiness or some joy or some sort of wonder or curiosity about life is only a value add. But it certainly shouldn't make you miserable.
Right,
And it
when it
shouldn't make you
becomes
feel
a should.
should.
Right. So, okay, I'm gonna I'm gonna summarize that into a tagline, and that is go up to a mom. Go up to the mom that looks the most like she was in the movie Heathers, and her name is Heather, and just go talk to her and
I
see
don't
what
look like
happens.
any of them.
What?
I don't look like any of them because I certainly don't look like Shannon Doherty in 1980 something.
No, you look like the blonde one who was killed with like that stuff you put in cars.
No, it was toilet bowl cleaner.
Yes, you look like her. Okay, I love you. See you in the next time you're on the Gal Matrix.